Do I have your consent to record the audio and video of this?
Yes.
All right. So why don't we start off with just explaining maybe your name and what you do and maybe your age?
Sure. I'm Ryan Kelley. I'm 27 and I'm a professional artist.
Right. So my understanding is, so you're a professional artist and you're involved with the art community. Is that
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So could you explain to me maybe what your work or like involvement with the community was like maybe before this pandemic was going on?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm on the board of the Newburyport Art Association and I am a sculptor. So I'll create work for homes and businesses, but I also host classes. So I would work with local breweries or local businesses and have, customers and people learn how to make wire art in their businesses.
Okay. And do people ask for requests from you, or do you kind of make a bunch of stuff and then you kind of sell it off afterwards?
It's a mix. It's probably like 60-40 commissions versus inventory. So I do mostly commission work.
Okay. And then as of what's going on now, like have you seen a decrease in your work or anything like that?
So I had to cancel my classes, obviously. So there was 3 sold out classes just in April and the end of March that already are gone. And then I had school visits. I do like a lot of school visits and teaching. One of those had to be canceled as well, which was like a every week thing. And now because of, businesses being shut down, art is kind of that luxury item. So it definitely leads to less sales. Because people just have less kind of cash to move around.
Yeah. So does this make you anxious of like not being able to sell as much stuff or not having these classes?
For sure. It's caused me to pivot and make sure I make a lot of the, Mother's Day roses that I do and sell them for a little bit less to entice people or, focus on just the commission pieces that I have and really hope to get some of those versus maybe the bigger shows and the bigger inventory pieces that I would have normally made.
And then you mentioned about teaching and having classes like that. Is something that like maybe you're passionate in that you can't do anymore?
Yeah, I love, I work with a ton of local schools, not just with my role with the Art Association, but just personally for my business. So, not being able to teach in Ipswich, I only got 1 of the 6 weeks that I was supposed to do that. The local classes that I host personally, like I said, 3 were sold out and canceled or postponed indefinitely. And then there's others that we were trying to fill into May, which are now probably not going to run. So it definitely affects, because that's a ton of revenue for me that now I have nothing.
So was this all your choice of canceling this stuff, or were you kind of told, or do you have
I had to cancel because the businesses that I was hosting it in obviously are shut down. They're not allowed to host groups like that. And the state obviously mandated that they'd be shut down. So.
And say that wasn't going on, would you still be nervous to kind of host classes in these conditions?
I would definitely be apprehensive. I would have to take steps like the masks and the gloves. And my classes are usually anywhere between like 15 and 25 people. So that's already a bigger group than probably what would be safe to assemble. And right before this, I'm hosting 18 people in a small coffee shop in Amesbury. And before this, it was totally fine. But now I can't even be that close to people.
Yeah, and you were talking about like making the Mother's Day roses and other things for businesses. Has your like procedures changed at all because of this virus? Like, are you delivering the stuff in a different way?
So I ship, and I'm just me in my studio. So it's not like I have people coming into my studio. I ship most of the stuff if I could. I did have some people pick up and I would just like leave it on my front step and I'd not even see them or talk to them. So it's completely contactless.
And like not being directly involved with your customers or your clients, has that like had any impact on your work or maybe your social life or
Well,
like
for sure. I'm a very, involved, like I said, and meeting up with other artists and grabbing a drink with them, catching up, is a huge part of my social life and how I educate myself about art and my business, but also the big shows. There's one in Boston in May that's canceled. Those are not just social events for me, but also because that's how I sell work too. So it's all affected.
And then like with maybe your personal life, is there any people that you're kind of missing out on seeing and stuff like that that's
Oh yeah,
affecting
I
you?
have a lot of local friends, not just artists, but people. I live near Newburyport, and I'm constantly going to the bars and restaurants and seeing shop owners and people that I know. And now I haven't seen them in over a month and a half.
Yeah, that must be kind of tough.
For sure.
So, as far as like you said with the whole work thing, do you think it's affecting maybe the quality of your work, or just like you can't produce exactly what people want because you can't have that face to face with them?
Yeah, there's a big part of my work that is, I enjoy shaking the customer's hand and saying thank you, and doing the extra thing to not just make them appreciate me, but for me to really be appreciative of them and of their business. So not being able to, thank people, having to drop it off on a step is not the same kind of interaction that I'm used to. It's definitely not the personalization that kind of I'm known for, especially doing mostly commission work.
So, do you think it's kind of like maybe looking back, it might be not as good of a service as it is now, just because like maybe your clients can't see you face to
Right.
face or interact with you?
Right. It's definitely a different level of service than you would usually try to have.
Yeah, it's kind of a personal thing, is what you're saying.
Yeah, my work is very personal, especially because I'm doing mostly commissioned work.
Gotcha.
To pop in here for a second. When you consider the future, do you think that what's happening now will impact the future of your business?
To be honest, definitely. I don't want to be a naysayer and a Debbie Downer and think it's totally ruined. I do think eventually we'll get through this, but the impact for me as an artist of, again, someone that is a non-essential worker, it's that extra $200 that somebody didn't make that month that would have possibly gone to arts or their bar or the restaurant that's now for bills. It's that extra little bit of time where someone would have gone to a class with a friend that now they don't feel comfortable going out. There's these repercussions and these ripples that'll go through the future, especially with schools. Schools are already so tight with funding, but I do a lot of school visits and artisan residences. And something that I pushed for this year, I had a huge artisan residency in January, which was going through this up until March where we had to actually stop. But I invested to get lists and contacts of all the schools within an hour, and I spent my own money to pay the person to do that. And now the likelihood of those schools having any money next year to have me possibly even come and visit and talk has drastically reduced. So now it's just this kind of snowball effect, not just for the clients and the art pieces, but the teaching and the community is tough.
So, how do you think this is affecting maybe your mental state? Like, are you just like nervous about things going into the future?
Definitely more apprehensive. I'm actually in the middle of buying land to build a home and studio, which has been the last 4 years. It's been a process to get to here, and of course now a month within we're closing with the loan is this whole craziness. So it truly couldn't be worse timing, because that extra money from the classes and the extra money from the stuff that I had already prepared for and already had sold out was covering the costs of those things.
So maybe before this whole thing was going on, is there anything like you would like to know, or like advice for yourself before everything kind of went downhill?
You truly never know what's going to happen tomorrow. I live pretty logistically and educated like that just for myself, and being in business for 9 years, you can't really rely on one thing or another. You always have to have plans. So I'm lucky that the timing for the roses, I had the materials. I can't buy more because the shops are closed. So using what I have now, using what I had in the studio, making the best out of social media and going live, and capitalizing on that and getting into that rhythm, which a lot of other artists are, is truly one of our only options. And thank God that we have the technology to interact with people still in like this, like what we're doing right now. But it's totally changed at least a year of income, at least.
So you mentioned that the art shops are closed. So are the supplies that you have now is kind of all that you got?
Yeah. I can't purchase metal from the local shops that I use because they're closed, or they have limited shipments because of everything, because now they're not having to order as much because people aren't buying it. And then the businesses that I use to cut the metal, or my friend that I pay to help me weld the thing, they're probably closed, or now I have to interact with them digitally instead of in person. So now it's, again, this ripple effect of, one product, one thing that I make has many people involved. Just because it's just Wired by Ryan, I use a website guy, a Facebook guy, a photographer that has to come into my studio. They can't do that anymore. There's all these steps in my process because I love being involved in the community and using multiple people, but now I can't.
So do you think these people that you were involved with are just also feeling just as impacted as you are, it sounds like?
Yeah, because for every one of them that I have, they have other people that are sustaining their business too. So I'm just one of their people in their circles as well.
Back to like the whole shopping being closed. When you're just shopping for yourself and supplies and stuff like that, are you kind of like tense about this whole scenario? Are you taking any precautions?
Yep.
Anything like that?
I've only left the house, I think, 4 times in the last 6 or 7 weeks, exclusively to shop for my parents for groceries, and then to also ship the pieces that I did sell, with a mask and gloves and all that stuff, each time. And I have not left the house besides that.
So are you concerned for getting sick yourself, or are you concerned for other people around you or anything like that?
Definitely concerned for other people around us, but less concerned for myself. But knowing that I could be a carrier with no symptoms is just the same as being sick. So it's definitely something that we're taking into consideration.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. Kind of going back to the question about what would you like to know before this pandemic? Is there anything that's going on right now that, or maybe in the future, if people are looking back at this, is there anything that you'd want them to know if they're going through something similar like this?
Um, if they were a business owner, I would say always, again, be prepared for clearly any situation. And if they were just a regular person, as we're all pretty much in the same age group, I would definitely maybe shun or speak strongly to the people that didn't take this as seriously, because that's definitely something that's frustrating as someone that is being every step of their own personal business, which has been affected, to still be safe. And then there are others that are, still working or still getting paid, but are also putting other people in danger, which is extremely frustrating to someone like me.
So is there anything you'd like to say to those people that are maybe right now not taking this very seriously? Just like maybe the impact it's having on you?
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely, I understand mental health and needing to get out, but I don't know how many more news stories or articles or things they need to see the gravity of the situation and to really grasp that it's not just them. We're in this as a world, and obviously we're trying to do this project for the greater good. And I would hope that they would have a little bit of responsibility and a little bit of ethics to see the bigger problem.
Gotcha. That's all I can think of. Sophie, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I can think of questions. So one of them ties back to your involvement with schools. How do you think, so obviously you're pretty involved with a lot of young people's lives. How do you think that this situation, through your art or just generally, would be like, how do you feel for them, I suppose?
Sure. I'm a huge advocate of the educational system, even though it has a lot of problems. I was an art kid in school and got to see you and everything else. And I've seen firsthand the power and the good and the ups and downs of what that can mean to the right person who really needs that attention. And I also have been in the, childcare side working for Newport Youth Services, where those kids, it's more than just being somewhere so they're not home. It's that somewhere is providing things that their home maybe not providing. And I can't help but think about the parents that are working but now are home, or the kids that are there without that friend or without that thing, that are now maybe not in a great healthy situation or anything. I mean, again, this has ripples that are bigger than just businesses and the government. This is families and lives and children that are affected. So it's definitely something I think about, not just for the kids' education, but it's also those life skills and the quality of life that are being affected because of being home without their resources.
I have another thing. So you just mentioned the government, and this is something that's happening recently. How does it make you feel that many states are considering reopening or partially opening?
I hope it doesn't happen the way that they think they're going to. I I feel from my perspective that there were many states that didn't even see this as a problem, and there was maps and diagrams of states that weren't even closed, weeks into this problem. And it's really unfortunate as a young adult seeing some of these actions that some of the older adults in our government are taking and not realizing that it's people like us that are truly affected by this. It's very unfortunate that in this day and age, especially with the technology we have, that we can't seem to get on the same page with one concise answer of anything.
That's all I can think of too.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, or just like let us know? Maybe questions that we didn't ask.
No, I think you guys, ask a wide variety. Obviously, I hope that everybody stays safe, including you two, and hopefully that when this is over, or when it really starts to lessen, that we can again learn from our mistakes, which is what the purpose of this is, so that in the event that something like this does happen again, we can be more prepared next time. Again, my business and being in business for 9 years, you always have to learn from your mistakes. There's always going to be that show you shouldn't have signed up for, or that type of client you shouldn't have worked for. And this is another example of, you can always make it better as long as you learn from the mistakes and not make them again.
I think that's a great way to kind of wrap it up here.
For sure.
Thank you so much for meeting with us.
No problem.
Great to hear what you had to say. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You guys too. Thank you for all you're doing, and good luck with the classes, and stay safe.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you guys.
See you.